Hi, I'm Christopher Moss from A6 Software, and in this video we're going to be looking at a comparison between Camtasia 2 and Screenflow on the Mac. So I'm using a late 2013 MacBook Pro, 8GB of RAM, and you can see by default, we're recording at the moment, so it's using slightly more than it would be just by default, but we're using about 3.5GB of RAM without anything else really running, so there's actually nothing running apart from what's shown at the moment. In this test, what we're going to do is open up a program called PHP Storm and then do a very quick bit of editing with it, close it down. And the reason that I'm using this is because it's going to show the it's going to show a couple of things actually. I'm just going to get rid of that. Yes, get rid of that as well. So swiping between the screens, that's one thing I want to show. And then also capturing keystrokes. So I'm just going to do Command D on there just to duplicate that text, because I want to show that it can capture the function keys in use. And then we can even do Command S to save that. And I was going to try and save it, but it's not going to be able to do that, but I just want to capture it anyway. And then we can close this down, but let's just quickly look at the RAM usage. So 4.5GB, basically PHP Storm has ramped that up by about 500 meg or something. So let's just close that down. And what we're going to do now is stop the video in Screenflow and then start looking at the editor in Screenflow. But to be able to do that, I'm going to have to open Camtasia. So it's going to get a bit Inception-like, I guess, but there we go. So next up will be actually in the editor, but recording from Camtasia. Okay, so we're now recording in Camtasia 2. We're recording the Screenflow editor from Camtasia. Now this is probably something that you wouldn't do in real life, but it's good to show it, I guess, because there's no other way to show it. You can't record Screenflow editor from Screenflow as far as I'm aware. That would require running two instances. So the first thing is that it's going to throw this weird error. Now you won't get this, it's because I'm recording, like I just said, you get this error. And the other thing is Camtasia is a memory hungry beast. You can see that Screenflow, it used to be taking up 50 meg-ish when we first started up, but now it's using 321 meg, and it's also got this helper, which I think must be the screen recorder. So yeah, your RAM usage is going up, considerably. Camtasia, I've restarted it once or twice, and it just seems to use whatever the hell amount of memory it feels like. There doesn't seem to be any pattern to it. I've seen it go as low as 100, and now we're basically at 500 meg of RAM, which is crazy, considering all it's doing is recording the screen. But it's working anyway, and I'm sure this isn't helping it. But let's just minimize that. So we're in the Screenflow editor, and Screenflow has basically got pretty much everything that you would need at this point in terms of editing. So the things that I'm most interested in, I'll go through with you. Now the first thing that I actually don't like about Screenflow is this editor view. You can make it bigger, so you can see your clips. It's not immediately obvious that you can actually make these clips a little bit bigger if you click the right button. So that's actually as far as they go. It's better than nothing, but it would be nice to just sort of be able to sort of arbitrarily resize, but you can't. And there is no way, as far as I'm aware, to expand all the clips. It would be nice just to be able to do that for all of them. You can zoom in and see what these things all mean. Obviously, you're scaling your time there. Nice little feature, I guess. The things that I'm most keen on are the ability. Well, it's these options over here. So I'll just sort of minimize that back down so we can see these things. Now I'm using, as I say, a Retina MacBook Pro in full Retina mode, and screen space is still at a premium, which isn't good really, but what can you do? So depending on which of these you select, depends on whether these options are highlighted or not. Little bit odd, but video properties panel, I generally don't touch a thing. You can scale up your videos and down, whatever. I don't have any requirement for doing that, so don't really use that one. The audio panel, you've got to select your audio. So the things that I use are smooth volume levels and remove background noise. Smooth volume levels is basically it normalizes a clip, which means if you've got high peaks on your clip, and you've got very low peaks, what it does is it sort of squashes them together to keep the overall level, the overall volume level of your clip more similar, so there's no sort of like big jumpy noises or whatever. And then remove background noise, I don't know, I tick it, God knows what it does. It might just be that I'm in a quiet office. It's pretty quiet in here, I don't know. Anyway, I never use the audio filters, so I can't comment on them. And next one, screen recording properties. So I always tick the show mouse pointer, you can see it there, but if you untick it, it disappears. Pretty cool. Then there's some other bits and pieces like showing where you clicked and stuff. Handy, available in Camtasia, available in Screenflow, good to have basically. And you know, you can just muck about with stuff. It's nice that you can change those bits. Sound on click, that's personal preference, by default it's off. And then show keystrokes, this is really cool. If you're doing stuff with your command keys and whatnot, it can be difficult to explain that to users when they're watching the video, that you say like command click. Some people might not know what the hell a command key is. You know, most people probably do, but whatever, it's nice to be able to, it pops up. I'll show you that in a sec. And then you've got the call out properties. So call outs are one of these. Let's just fast forward the video to that point. So like the call out that I've got there is this arrow pointing to the RAM usage. I've also got this text box thing, which I'll show you in a sec. But let's just see, we can effectively, to do this, you click on this add call out, you've got to be on the video, and then that's the one thing that I don't like about Screenflow. It's got, everything's sort of contextual, you've got to be on the right box for certain things to work, which is kind of good, but it's a little bit frustrating as well at the same time. If you're not on, you know, you've got to keep going back down here, choosing the right box, whatever, and then you add a call out, and then it tells you what it's going to do, and then you can do various bits and pieces. It actually puts the call outs on their own, it puts the call outs on the channel, the video channel, at whatever point your current cursor is at. Obviously that's where you'd want the call out, I guess. What you can't do though is move that call out anywhere on the clip, so it's kind of stuck there between that and that. Annoying. Then there is, what else have we got? The text thing, so that kind of showed before. Scroll that up there. So this is a text block, and yeah, you can just add in, this thing is an annotation, and this thing is a text block. So the text block's there, and then those are like, that's the gist of what I would use it for, so just to point out things and highlight them. And then this is your clip bin. So overall, a pretty helpful editor, but not perfect. So yeah, I quite like it. But next we're going to look at Camtasia and do it sort of the flip. Okay, so now we're in Camtasia. I'm just going to fire up PHP Storm like we did before when we were in Screenflow. And then we're going to do exactly the same process. So we're just going to edit a file, do some quick use of function keys so we can show that in the editor, and then we're going to edit the actual file. So it should just load this up again, and I just want to do a swipe, so you can see the swipe is registered. I swiped for us there, and then swipe back. The reason I do that is in the earlier versions of Camtasia that wasn't actually captured. As soon as you swiped across, it stopped recording, but it kept recording your audio. So I'm just going to do duplicate of that, and then a Command S to save it. So, and then we can just do a Command Q to close it, and then that's pretty much it in terms of the video, for Camtasia. So we're now going to go into Screenflow to record the Camtasia editing. Okay, so now we're in Camtasia, the editor mode. The first thing that I want to show you really is I've had to do a little bit of sort of pre-prep to get this video so that we're not waiting all day to show you it. Because adding stuff in Camtasia is a bit of a nightmare, honestly. So the first thing that I've done is split out, when you first load up a clip, I can show you, in fact, I'll import one of my old ones. So I import that into this channel, and you get the audio and the video in the same channel. So what you've got to do is control click, and then separate video from audio. So I'm just going to delete that because I've already done that here. So this is the video of me opening up PHP Storm. Just quickly whip through there, and you'll be able to see that as it happens. So I've applied a few little overlays and stuff. The The main problem, I mean, one of the nice things I was moaning about in the other version is you can't really just do that in Screenflow. I suppose that's a minor thing, but you can in Camtasia. But one of the major drawbacks for me is it's much more complicated, Camtasia, than Screenflow. So for the average user, you're going to have to hit the manual to be able to do the vast majority of things that in Screenflow are quite straightforward and self-describing and intuitive. So you do, obviously, once you've used Camtasia for a while, you do get used to the way it works, but until that point you're going to be hitting the manuals, so it's a bit of a nightmare, I guess, because time's precious, isn't it? That's why we want the easiest tools. Anyway, so you got the media bin, so this is where all your recordings get put by default. I've got two, one from before and this one that I was recording. Then you can add annotations similar to Screenflow. You just drag and drop them onto the timeline. They become their own channel rather than being part of the video. There's various different things. I've got the text thing here, which isn't showing because I'm not at that point in the video yet. But if I am, then the text is there, and you can actually see, even though it's greyed out, you can see it highlighted kind of. And then you've got this, which is the arrow, which is just one of these. You can just drag and drop these bits and pieces in and drag them around and do whatever you want with them. So yeah, helpful, handy. That's quite nice. You got these other bits and pieces, boxes and little shapes and stuff. Now this is an interesting one. Whereas in Screenflow it automatically captures the key that you're using, so the hotkey functionality. When you do this in Camtasia, so you can drop this bit in, but it doesn't actually do it automatically, so you've got to sort of update whatever the hell it's happening at that time, which I think is terrible, and maybe I'm not using it right or something, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't tell you which key press you're actually using. The other thing is I've not been able to figure out hotspots, so I've added in this little transition which you can see on the video itself. So this is a smart zoom, which is done by going into transitions, I think it is, animations, and then you've got this zoom in. But if I try and do stuff like, I think it was smart focus, then it was telling me before, yeah, here we are, it's unable to do it because my video is too big. So welcome to the 21st century where you can't add functions from a program to a Retina MacBook Pro. Sarcastic to the last. Then you got some other bits and pieces, video effects, audio effects. I'm sure it matters if you're doing perhaps a more involved video production, which isn't what I'm doing. I'm just doing screencasting, so yeah, maybe it's trying to overstep its bounds or something. I'm sure there's probably an official Mac product which is I forget what it's called. It's not iMovie, the professional version, whatever. Maybe it's trying to compete with that. But for me, for screencasting, it doesn't really work. I'm just going to press play and show you this zoom thing that I added. Ooh, smooth. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, overall, it's just not as good as Screenflow, I guess. The only other thing is with Camtasia is your recording options, your exporting options are vastly better in Camtasia. So I say vastly better, I mean wider. You've got more choice, so you can do various different bits and pieces exporting, and you get this quite cool thing where you get the file size of the higher quality, so you can sort of judge whether you're going to get a higher quality video output or a faster rendering time. Why you would want to do a faster rendering time when it's a one-off process, I don't know. You're best just leave it on higher quality unless file size is seriously an issue. But the reason I say that is if you're going to upload a video to YouTube, they're already going to compress it as far as I'm aware. So yeah, you're gonna if you put it on smaller file size, you will get a faster rendering time, which I'm going to come on to in a sec anyway. But the problem is your video quality is crap, basically, so there's no point. I really don't see the point in rendering poorly anymore. It's just, space is just not really that big of a problem anymore, so you might as well just render high quality. It takes longer, but it's a one-off task. So that's basically it for Camtasia versus Screenflow. I'm just going to cover the rendering times very quickly, as I say, but the main reason to use Camtasia 2, I would say, is for it's got better compatibility with more video formats and stuff like that, whereas Screenflow is more like it wants you just to record the screen, do a few things with it, export it, job done. Camtasia is more like, let's put together a video series or something and let's stitch all these different things together with advanced animations and stuff. And if that's what you're after, then cool. But if you're just after a screencasting program, then yeah, Camtasia is not where it's at the moment on the Mac anyway. So yep, let's look at the rendering times.